कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रिया वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृति स्वभावत् करोमि यत् यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समप्रयामि श्रीमन्नारायणायेति समप्रयामि Om. This chant means we offer all our action that we do with our body, speech, senses, mind and intellect as an offering to Sriman Narayana, who is the sustainer of the Prakriti nature of this creation. Today we are in chapter 5 entitled Karma Sannyasa Yoga, renunciation of action, teaching us to do our righteous duties as an offering to the law of Dharma for the purification of our mind, to qualify us for the knowledge of Brahman. Om Namah Shivaya, episode 19, chapter 5, verses 1 to 12. First a karma yogi, then a sannyasi. Shri Krishna concluded chapter 4 by advising Arjuna to get up and do his duty, with the knowledge that Atma is not the doer, to be a jnana karma sannyasa yogi. However, Arjuna is still deluded. He thinks that since knowledge liberates, why not renounce his duty, take sannyasam and gain the knowledge of Brahman. So Arjuna begins the chapter by asking Sri Krishna to tell him precisely which of these two liberates. Taking sannyasam to gain the knowledge of Brahman, or doing his duty to become a karma yogi. The fact is, without a karma yogic attitude, we cannot be a real sannyasi. We must do our duty and purify our mind. This will qualify us for the knowledge of Brahman. Verses 2 to 12 are Sri Krishna's reply to this question. Sri Krishna says that there is no simple answer to this question, either this or that. It depends on the qualification of the person. And for Arjuna, karma yoga is recommended. He must do his duty and purify his mind to qualify for the knowledge of Brahman. If Arjuna is thinking of taking sannyasam because he feared the result, then sannyasam is not recommended for him. Escapism breeds weakness, not strength. And a real sannyasi is one who is one with himself and happy with himself. So Arjuna is not a real sannyasi at this moment. Verse 3, Sri Krishna addresses Arjuna as mighty arm, Mahabaho, telling him to have mastery over his body, mind, senses, to rise above the pairs of opposites. Do not be enslaved by your raga, dvesha, likes and dislikes. Be untainted by the pairs of opposite, success and failure, birth and death. Then only you can rise effortlessly above this bondage. Nirdvantvohi sukham bandhat pramuchyate. A real sannyasi, a nitya sannyasi, has two buddhis. First, he has Ishvara Arpana buddhi. He is able to offer all his action to the law of Dharma that is governing the universe. And second, he has Ishvara Prasada Buddhi. He is able to accept whatever the result may be as Ishvara's Prasada. And verse 4 tells us, if we are ignorant and we see that Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga are different, then we are ignorant like children. We will argue that Karma Yoga is different from Jnana Yoga. Sankhya Yogo Pratat Balaha. And verse 5 tells us, only when we see that Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga are one, then we see the truth. Ekam Sankyam cha Yogam cha ya pasyati cha pashyati. The end, moksha, which is gained by the sannyasi, is also the end that is reached by the karma yogis. Only thing, the karma yogis take a longer time because they need to purify their minds first before they contemplate upon the knowledge of Brahman. And verse 6 tells us, therefore, we must be committed to a life of karma yoga. We must renounce our attachment to this body, mind, senses. Then only we will be able to contemplate upon the knowledge of Brahman and gain Brahman quickly. Munir Brahman nachirena adhikachati. Verse 7 tells us, to be a karma yogi, there is an order. First, we must be committed to a life of karma yoga, doing our righteous duties as an offering to the law of dharma for the purification of our mind and able to take whatever the results may be as Ishvara's prasada. Yoga yukto visuddha atma. For this, our body, mind, senses must be integrated. We must have mastery over our senses of perception and our powers of action. Vijit Atma Jit Indriya. Then only we will be able to perceive every situation we face as an opportunity to know that the Atma within is the Atma in all. Sarva Bhuta Atma Bhuta Atma. Previously we saw ourselves separate from others. Now we see ourselves one with everyone. Thereby we continue doing our duties without a sense of doership and not affected by the results. Kurvan api na lipyate. This is what real sannyasam is, seeing that Atma performs no action and we have no sense of doership. Verses 8 and 9 tells us that when we see ourselves as the self of all being, Sarva Bhuta Atma Bhuta Atma, then we are wise, we are Tattvavid. We know that Atma performs no action. We are in harmony with ourselves, Yuktaha, even when we are seeing, eating, smelling, hearing or touching. Because we know our senses of perception, our powers of action, our voluntary and involuntary actions are all engaging themselves in their own respective sphere of activities. And verse 10 tells us, when we are karma yogis, we see the law of dharma as twofold. First, we observe universal values. We ensure all our actions do not hurt others. Number 2, we see that Ishvara and the law of dharma as one. Ishvara is pervading the entire universe. Thereby, we do our duties as an offering to Ishvara. Thereby, our actions do not incur sin. Lipyate na papena. Just like the leaves of the lotus are not wetted by water. This is a very crucial point in understanding Dharma and Ishvara are one. Ishvara is the creator of the universe and he is governing the universe by the law of Dharma. So when we do our duties as an offering to Ishvara, the law of Dharma, that means we are worshipping Ishvara. This is Karma Yoga. This purifies our mind, which will qualify us for the knowledge of Brahman, to be wise, to become men of wisdom, to gain moksha. Verses 11 and 12 summarizes this section on Karma Yoga and its purpose. As a Karma Yogi, we do our duties with our body, mind, intellect and senses. Kayena manasa buddhya indriya api. Without attachment to the results, sangam tyaktva, purely for the purification of the mind. Kevaler atma suddhaya. When we do our duties for the purification of the mind, not dictated by our desires, there is relative shanti. When this relative shanti brings about inner leisure, because there is prasada buddhi, the ability to accept whatever the result as Ishvara's prasada. With this relative shanti, when we expose our intellect to the knowledge of Brahman, we can convert it to wisdom. Then it comes Swarupa Shanti, the nature of Atma, Satchit Ananda Atma. This is absolute bliss. This is freedom. This is the purpose for human birth. On the other hand, if we are not committed to a life of Karma Yoga, then our life will be like a roller coaster, dictated by our likes and dislikes, our desires. And there will be not even relative shanti. When our desires get fulfilled, we experience some moments of happiness. Then when it is not fulfilled, we feel sad. So life is like a roller coaster. No peace. Then we have wasted this human birth. We have not used this human birth to gain the knowledge of Brahman. And at verse 12, we shall take a break. And next we are going to learn about the freedom of these jnanis, the men of wisdom. So till then, Om Namah Shivaya.